this part, we'll try to say all different parts of the male reproductive system and their connections. But before that, let us draw the first part which we have to show here, the oval testis, and we have seen that from here there are fine ducts through which the sperms are getting conducted into the next structure. The next structure is a coiled tube, but we normally don't show it coiled. So here this testis is up till this part and this is a coiled part. This structure is called the epididymis. Actually, it is a coiled tube, long tube, about 6 meters long, and it is highly coiled, and it has 3 parts. The upper part is known as the head part, or it is known as caput epididymis. The middle part is known as the body part or corpus epididymis, and the last narrow part is called the tail part or cauda epididymis. In this part, the sperms are stored for few hours. Here, sperms are stored for about 18 to 24 hours. And in this duration, the sperms attain physiological maturity. Physiological maturity is attained in this epididymis part. So now we have understood how from the testis the sperms would get conducted into the next part. So when we draw the system, this detail will not be visible, but we'll have an idea. Here, when we draw the system for drawing purpose, to understand this, we separate the two testes, or rather the two scrotal sacs. But we have seen that the scrotal sacs are very close to each other. We are separating them, or we are drawing them at a distance because we want to study the structure. So this is one scrotal sac, and here we will draw the other one. They are not this far. There is a septum which is separating these two compartments. So this is one scrotal sac and this is the other one. Each has that oval testis. So here is one and here is the other one. Now let us draw this epididymis. Epididymis is on the posterior side. That means it is going to be on the slightly low back side. But we will draw it here. So this is the epididymis that we are showing. And now from this lower part of the epididymis would arise a duct. That means the tail part of epididymis would continue with a duct. So if I have to show that duct, let me just make it a little bigger here so that the duct becomes visible. So from the tail part arises a duct, and this duct goes up. So the testis, epididymis, they are present in the scrotal sac. So let us label these parts. This is scrotum. This is the testis. This blue, let me make it solid so that it is clear. This solid part which we have drawn is the epididymis, which has received the sperms from the testis. And then there is a duct which is going to go up. It goes up into the abdominal cavity through that inguinal canal. If you are able to recall, there is a narrow connection between the abdominal cavity and the vaginal coelom, which is inside the scrotum. And that narrow tube was called inguinal canal. So this duct, it goes up into the abdominal cavity through this inguinal canal. This duct is known as vasa differentia or vasa or just vas deferens. This is the one which ascends into the abdominal cavity. Now let us draw other part. Here, because now this is the abdominal cavity, lower part, that is the pelvic region. In this region, there is this urinary bladder. So this sac-like structure is the bladder. So this vas deferens, it goes up to the bladder, up to the top part of the bladder, takes a turn, makes a loop like this. It takes a loop or turn, and then it comes closer to the lower part of the bladder. So this structure is urinary bladder, and this part, the tube part, right now let us label it as urethra. This vas deferens is going to open into the urethra. So it is going to come from here and opens into this urethra. So let me change this position. There are going to be two vasa deferentia, one coming from each testis. So there are two vas deferens which open here. Let us say this is the urethra part. The urethra is the duct or tube which is bringing the urine from, or which is stored in the bladder. Now when vas deferens open into this, the next part of the duct is going to carry both the things. Urine from the bladder and the sperms which are coming through vas deferens. That means now this duct is going to carry the gametes as well as urine. So we start calling this as urinogenital duct, because it is a common passage for urine and sperms. Now before this vas deferens, it opens into this or joins this urethra, there is a slight swelling here in this part which is known as the ampulla. And in this ampulla opens a tubular gland. So there is a tubular gland which is going to open into this. So what we have seen is from the tail part of epididymis, that means from here, there is a tube which is going to start. This tube is known as the vas deferens. It ascends into the abdominal cavity, goes up to the top part of the bladder, takes a turn or makes a loop and opens or joins the urethra. There would be two vas deferens which would come and join the urethra. But before joining the urethra, it makes a slight swelling. This swelling is known as the ampulla. And in this ampulla opens a gland, a tubular gland, which are known as seminal vesicles. So once the vas deferens opens, or this seminal vesicle opens into the vas deferens, this much part of the tube, it is vas deferens, but now we start giving it a new name. It is called ejaculatory duct. So let me just quickly go over this, why these names have been changed. From the tail part of epididymis, vas deferens starts. This vas deferens ascends into the abdominal cavity through inguinal canal, goes up to the bladder, takes a loop and finally joins the urethra. Before joining the urethra, there is a slight swelling which is called the ampulla, in which a duct from seminal vesicle opens. So now when seminal vesicle has opened into this duct, this part of vas deferens is known as ejaculatory duct. The duct coming from bladder is known as urethra. But when two vas deferens from two sides, they open into this. Now the later passage will conduct two things, urine as well as the sperms or gametes. So this duct is now called urinogenital duct. This connection which is visible to us is not normally visible unless and until the gland above this part is removed. In this part, there is a large donut-shaped gland. So because we have understood the inner part, I am just drawing over it. This donut-shaped gland is the prostate gland. So this connection is not visible unless and until the prostate is removed. So now, this urinogenital duct, it is going to pass through a structure. This structure is a muscular, highly vascular structure, and towards the tip, it shows slight bulge or swelling, and then it opens. So let me draw this duct. This structure is the copulatory organ, and it is known as penis. This is the external genitalium which we see, and this duct is passing through it. It has a slightly swollen tip. This tip is known as glans penis, and the tip has a loose skin fold which is known as foreskin or prepuce. This part of penis is highly sensitive, and the opening is urinogenital aperture or opening. Urinogenital opening, and it is a slit-like opening. It is not a circular structure. This is a slit-like opening like this. So this is how all the structures are placed. One more gland which we have to draw here. This gland is present at the base of penis. Here in this part, there is a small paired gland which are known as Cowper's glands. And Cowper's glands secrete mucus which help in lubrication. So this is how all the structures are connected. We have drawn just one part. The same thing is going to be on the other side also. We have just shown that two vast differences are coming and opening into the urethra. So this is how all the structures are. We will discuss about all these glands in detail, their secretions also. We will also see the transverse section of penis so that we understand which all tissues are present inside. So the main primary sex organ, that is testis, a pair of them. From the testis, sperms are conducted first into epididymis with the help of vasa efferentia. From epididymis through vas deferens, which ultimately joins urethra. A gland pours its secretion into it. A small, or rather a larger donut-shaped gland, prostate, it is single. Seminal vesicles are paired, Cowper's glands are also paired, but prostate is a single gland, a donut shape, which covers this connection basically. The common duct, urinogenital, which passes through a muscular structure called penis, which is the copulatory organ. It opens out through an opening or a slit-like aperture. The tip part is slightly swollen, sensitive, which is known as glans penis, and the fold of skin, which is loose, is known as foreskin or prepuce. So this is how the male reproductive parts are. In the beginning itself, I told you that the two testes or these two scrotal sacs are not so far. They are very close to each other. So if we would have actually drawn the correct way, these two would have been beneath or behind this penis. But we wanted to show all the structures, that is why we spaced them. So in the next part, we will start discussing about the glands and the other parts.